The air in the interrogation chamber was thick with the acrid tang of ionized steel and the metallic scent of blood. Lyra Voss's wrists chafed against the cold alloy restraints, her breaths shallow as she stared into the flickering red eye of the neural inhibitor hovering above her. It hummed like a vengeful wasp, its needle-tipped tendrils poised to pierce her skull. Across the room, Commander Kale Veyron loomed in his obsidian armor, his gauntleted fingers tapping a slow, deliberate rhythm on the hilt of his plasma blade. "Last chance, little moth," Veyron said, his voice a graveled purr. "Give us the decryption key and I'll make your death quick. Refuse, and we'll peel your mind apart, synapse by synapse." Lyra's lips curled into a bloody smile. "You've already torched my home, murdered my father. What's left to take? Your sister," the word struck like a vibro shiv to the ribs. "Ava." Lyra's resolve wavered, her mind flashing to the girl's laughter, echoing through the hydroponic gardens of Epsilon 9. Before the Empire reduced the colony to radioactive ash, she'd smuggled Ava to Terra 5, bribing a freighter captain with stolen data chips. But if Veyron knew... No, she clenched her jaw. The transmission she'd decoded, the Empire's purge protocols, wasn't just a death warrant for Earth's colonies. It was a blueprint for genocide. Letting Veyron win would doom millions. "Rot in the void," she spat. Veyron sighed, nodding to the technician beside him. "Begin." The neural inhibitor struck. It wasn't the searing agony of flesh that shattered her, but the violence of the machine's intrusion. The inhibitor's tendrils burrowed into her temples, injecting liquid fire into her veins. Her back arched against the slab as her mind fractured. Running through Epsilon 9's burning streets, her father's hand clutching hers. "Secrets are weapons, Lyra," he'd told her moments before Imperial dragnets hauled him away. "Use them or lose them." The crack of an executioner's pulse rifle. Elias Wren's lab, shadows pooling under his fever-bright eyes as he pressed the nanite injector to her neck. "They'll come for you. When they do, let them think they've won." Veyron's boot slamming into her ribs during her capture, his laugh as her datapad crunched underfoot. "Where is the key?" Veyron's voice boomed through the psychic storm. Lyra clung to the memory of Ava's face. "Go to hell!" The machine escalated. Her nervous system became a live wire. Synapses screamed. The inhibitor wasn't just reading her thoughts. It was unspooling them, thread by thread. She felt the decryption key, a string of quantum code buried in her hippocampus, quiver under the assault. "Hold! Hold! Hold!" Veyron leaned close, his breath reeking of stimulants. "You're a relic, Voss. The Empire doesn't fear rebels. We farm them." He tapped a command into his wrist console. The inhibitor's hum spiked. Lyra's world dissolved into static. One final surge from the machine and her heart stuttered. The flatline alarm shrieked. Veyron cursed, backhanding the technician. "You burned her out too soon." "Sir, the subject's neural elasticity was off the charts, almost like her brain was regenerating during the process." "Save your excuses. Harvest the nanite sample and dump the body." Lyra's corpse slid into the waste chute, a tangle of blackened limbs and blood-matted hair. The Empire didn't notice the silver filaments knitting her shattered bones, nor the pulse flickering back to life in her chest. Lyra jolted awake, her lungs flooding with putrid air. She gagged, clawing at the sludge coating her skin. The reclamation chute's walls throbbed with bioluminescent fungus, casting her hands in a sickly green glow. Hands that shouldn't exist. She'd died, she'd felt it, the cold vacuum of nothingness. Yet here she was, trembling but whole. Her fingers probed the base of her skull. The injection site itched, alive with a subcutaneous shimmer. When she closed her eyes, she could feel them. A colony of microscopic machines swarming through her bloodstream, repairing, rewriting. A memory surfaced. Elias's warning, delivered in the dank safe house where he'd first shown her the purge protocols. They're not just healers, Lyra. They're archivists. Every death, every wound, they'll learn from it, adapt. She stared at her reflection in a pool of stagnant water. Her brown eyes now held flecks of silver. What am I becoming? A clang echoed overhead. Boots on metal. Lyra froze. Voices filtered down. Scan the lower decks. Veyron wants the corpse found. She moved on instinct, scaling the chute's slick walls with preternatural grace. The nanites hummed in her muscles, guiding her. For the first time since her capture, Lyra Voss smiled. Let's see how you farm rebels now, Veyron. Lyra's boots echoed through the Eclipse arterial corridors, the sound swallowed by the dreadnought's cavernous belly. Her body thrummed with the nanite's cold electricity, a sensation like ice crystallizing in her veins. Every breath tasted of recycled air and her own burnt copper fear. She pressed a hand to the wall to steady herself, its surface slick with condensation. Or was it blood? The Empire's insignia, a snarling raptor encircled by stars, glared at her from every bulkhead. Keep moving. Find the core. But her mind rebelled. Fractured memories surged like rogue tides. Ava's small hands clutching a moth in the Epsilon 9 greenhouse, its wings iridescent under UV lamps. Look, Lyra! It's like a tiny galaxy. Her father's corpse swinging from a scaffold, his face bloated and unrecognizable. Imperial drones buzzing like carrion flies. Elias Wren's lab, walls papered with equations, his trembling hands as he loaded the nanite injector. They'll hollow you out, Lyra. But this'll make you a ghost in their machine. Lyra stumbled, catching herself on a rusted pipe. The nanites flared in response, stitching a hairline fracture in her ribcage. She'd died, and yet here she was, a puppet strung together by machines. A patrol rounded the corner ahead. She flattened herself into a shadowed alcove, pulse roaring in her ears. 2 Imperial soldiers marched past, their armor clattering. Scouring the waist decks, one muttered. Veyron's livid, says the corpse moved. Probably just a glitch in the recyclers, the other scoffed. Dead's dead. Lyra waited until their footsteps faded. Dead. Was she? She glanced at her hands, half expecting to see through them. Instead, she found fresh scars webbing her knuckles, silver seams where the nanites had repaired her. What else did you fix? She wondered. What else did you take? The ship's AI core lay in Sector Gamma 12, a fortress of encrypted bulkheads. But Lyra had spent years slithering through the Empire's digital intestines. Data smuggling wasn't glamorous, but it taught her how to pry open sealed doors. She ducked into a derelict storage bay, its shelves stacked with crates labeled biohazard and confiscated tech. A flickering hollow terminal crouched in the corner, its interface caked in grime. Lyra wiped the screen with her sleeve, her reflection warping in the static. The girl staring back was a stranger, pale, feral, eyes glinting like shattered glass. Her fingers danced across the keypad, muscle memory overriding panic. The terminal coughed to life, its login screen demanding a retinal scan. Lyra smirked. She'd stolen an officer's credentials months ago, back when she still believed secrets could save her. The logs unfurled, shipment manifests, interrogation transcripts, execution orders. Lyra filtered for recent entries. File, Subject Voss, Lyra 377A. Status, terminated. Nanite sample, extraction failed. Note, purge protocol. Delta initiated. Target, Terra 5, grid 78K. The words blurred. Terra 5. Ava's face flooded her mind, round cheeks smeared with hydroponic soil, braids fraying at the ends. The Empire knew where she was hiding. They'd burn her sister alive to punish Lyra's defiance. Number no. Lyra slammed a fist into the terminal, cracking the screen. The nanites surged, healing her split knuckles before the blood could drip. She had to warn Ava, had to stop this. She accessed the comms array, her fingers trembling as she input Elias's emergency frequency. The line hissed, a symphony of dead stars. "Lyra?" Elias's voice crackled through, raw with disbelief. "You're alive. How? The neural inhibitor should have—" "They're going after Ava," she interrupted. "I need an extraction team on Terra 5. Now." A pause. "Lyra, the colonies are in lockdown. The Empire's blockading every system within 3 jumps of the core." "Then think. You built these monsters inside me. How do I stop them?" Another silence, longer this time. When Elias spoke again, his voice had hollowed. "The nanites. They're not just healing you. They're adapting, learning. Every time you die, they rewrite your neural pathways. But the human mind isn't built for that kind of erosion. Eventually, I'll what? You'll forget how to be. You." Lyra's throat tightened. "How long?" "I don't know. A week? A day? But if you reach the Eclipse's AI core, you might find a kill switch for the purge protocols. The Empire codes their atrocities into their systems. Delete the protocols, and you cripple their playbook." "And Ava?" "Buy her time. I'll find a way." The line died. Lyra slumped against the terminal. Buy time. As if time hadn't already bled her dry. She'd bought time when she smuggled Ava off Epsilon 9, bought it again when she let the Empire carve her open instead of surrendering the decryption key. Now her currency was gone. A klaxon blared, yanking her upright. Red lights pulsed overhead. Lyra bolted, the nanites sharpening her reflexes. She wove through the labyrinth, following the subsonic thrum of the AI core. But the Eclipse was alive, malevolent. Bulkheads slid shut, forcing detours. Drones peeled from ceilings like mechanized spiders. She skidded into a service elevator, jamming the controls. As the doors sealed, a drone's clawed limb lashed out, grazing her arm. Blood welled, then vanished, the wound sealing itself in a ripple of silver. Lyra stared, adapting, learning. The elevator shuddered upward. When the doors opened, she faced a vaulted chamber bathed in cobalt light. The AI core loomed ahead, a pulsating sphere of holographic data, its surface crawling with glyphs, and guarding it, a sentry drone, its plasma cannon whining as it powered up. Lyra's lips peeled into a grin. Let's learn faster. The sentry drone's plasma cannon glowed like a miniature star, its heat rippling the air. Lyra crouched behind a shattered console, her breath ragged. The drone's hexagonal carapace bristled with sensors, each one so dinged onto her position with predatory precision. She could feel its algorithms calculating her demise, a cold mechanical certainty. Adapt or die, she thought, echoing Elias's words. Her nanites thrummed in reply, a storm beneath her skin. The drone fired. Lyra lunged, the plasma bolt searing past her shoulder. The nanites flared, sharpening her reflexes as she rolled behind a pillar. Molten alloy dripped from the wall where the blast had struck. Intruder. Termination protocols. Engaged, the drone intoned, its voice a synthetic snarl. Termination. The Empire's favorite word. Lyra's fingers closed around a shard of shrapnel. Useless against armor, but maybe not against data. Elias's lessons hissed in her memory. AIs are gods with toddler brains. Confuse them. She sprinted, zigzagging as plasma bolts cratered the floor behind her. The drone's cannon whined, overheating, a half-second lag. Lyra dove beneath its chassis, slamming the shrapnel into a glowing access port. Sparks erupted. Error! Error! Roses are obsolete. In the vacuum, the drone stammered, its cannon sputtering poetry. Lyra didn't wait. She sprinted to the AI core, a pulsating orb of light suspended in the chamber's heart. Its surface writhed with data streams, millions of Imperial secrets, each a venomous serpent. Ah, this is how they see the universe, she realized, a spreadsheet of death. Lyra pressed her palm to the holographic sphere. The nanites surged, tendrils of silver threading from her fingertips into the machine. Her mind unfolded. Data engulfed her. The purge protocols. A star map dotted with burning colonies. Ava's face, flagged for termination on Terra 5. Her own file. Subject Voss. Lyra 377A. Nanite integration stable. Cognitive decay imminent. Cognitive decay. The words slithered into her psyche. She saw herself in third person, strapped to the interrogation slab. Veyron's voice echoed. You'll forget your name, your sister. You'll beg me to die. But deeper, darker. A video log of Elias, bruised and bloodied in a cell. Veyron loomed over him. Why does she keep coming back? Veyron demanded. Elias grinned, teeth crimson. Because you can't kill hope. The nanites don't just rebuild her, they evolve, and she'll remember everything. Lyra recoiled. Evolve. Her DNA was a battleground, humanity versus machine. She felt the nanites rewriting her strand by strand. Focus. Find the kill switch. She plunged deeper into the core, sifting through firewalls. The purge protocols coiled around her like barbed wire, their codes singing of apocalypse. Destruct sequence initiated. Terra 5, 12 hours. No, Lyra tore at the code, her consciousness fraying. The nanites burned hotter, stitching her mind back together each time it split. You're not human anymore, the core whispered. You're a ghost, a weapon. I'm more, she snarled. The chamber doors exploded. He strode in, flanked by soldiers, his armor scorched from the ship's internal chaos. Clever little phantom, he said, aiming his sidearm at Lyra's physical body still tethered to the core. But even ghosts have anchors. On the holographic sphere, a live feed flickered. Ava huddled in a Terra 5 bunker, clutching a moth-shaped pendant. Lyra's heart stalled. Veyron smirked. Beg, like your father did. Lyra's voice fractured. Let her go. Why? So you can keep playing hero? He adjusted his aim. The feed zoomed in on Ava's trembling hands. You're not human. You're a thing. We forgot to scrap. The nanites screamed in Lyra's veins. She felt the core's data at her fingertips. The purge codes, the Empire's skeletal fleet routes, the cure for the cognitive decay buried in a subfolder labeled Project Lazarus. Lazarus, Elias's final joke. But Veyron's finger tightened on the trigger. Lyra made her choice. Disconnecting from the core, she slammed back into her body. The soldiers fired. Nanites erupted. Time bent. Lyra saw the plasma bolts suspended in air, their trajectories glowing red. She moved, a blur of silver and shadow, disarming the first soldier, snapping the second's neck. Veyron's shot grazed her arm, the wound sealing before the pain registered. He lunged, blade flashing. Lyra caught his wrist, nanites surging into his armor. The system shorted, locking his joints. You're right, she hissed. I'm not human. She wrenched the blade free and pressed it to his throat. The holographic feed still showed Ava, oblivious. Call off the purge, Lyra demanded. Veyron laughed. Or what? You'll kill me? I've died 1,000 times in simulations. Simulations don't have this? She channeled the core's data into his neural implant, a flood of every atrocity he'd committed, every scream he'd silenced. Veyron's eyes widened. For the first time, he looked afraid. Lyra leaned close. Beg! Alarms wailed. The chamber shuddered, conduits exploding. Lyra fled, dragging Veyron as a human shield. Soldiers scattered, consumed by fire. In the chaos, she glimpsed the cure in the core's dying light. Project Lazarus, cognitive stabilization via neural lattice. A blueprint to save her dissolving mind, but the data disintegrated as the core collapsed. Number. Veyron writhed in her grip. You lose, ghost. Lyra silenced him with the blade. The eclipse groaned like a dying leviathan. Fires raged in its corridors, and the air stank of melting circuitry and charred flesh. Lyra sprinted through the chaos, Veyron's blood streaking her stolen armor. The nanites thrashed beneath her skin, their cold logic overwriting her thoughts. Cognitive decay. She felt it now, gaps in her memory, the scent of her father's pipe tobacco, the sound of Ava's voice, fraying at the edges, but the eclipsed self-destruct countdown glared on every screen. 0, 0, 12, 21 remaining. Lyra slammed into the bridge where Imperial officers scrambled to reroute power. They froze as she raised Veyron's severed head, its dead eyes still wide with terror. "The purge protocols," she said, her voice layered with the static of 1,000 frequencies. "You'll transmit them." "Now!" A lieutenant lunged for the alarm. Lyra's nanites lashed out before she could blink, silver tendrils spearing his throat. The bridge crew recoiled as his corpse hit the floor, dissolving into ash. "Do it," she hissed, "or I'll burn this fleet to stardust." They obeyed. Lyra's fingers danced across the command console, hijacking the Empire's network. The purge protocols, designed to annihilate rebels, now targeted Imperial strongholds. Warships erupted into silent fireballs. Orbital platforms crumpled. On Terra 5, Ava's bunker flickered on the view screen, untouched for now. But the nanites were winning. Lyra's vision fractured. She saw double. The bridge around her and a memory of Elias in his lab, screaming as Veyron's interrogators peeled back his fingernails. "You're the key, Lyra," he'd gasped. "The loop has to end with you." "And how?" a klaxon blared. Cognitive integrity at 12%. Lyra stumbled, clutching her skull. The nanites were rewriting her, synapse by synapse. She was becoming a wildfire, beautiful, destructive, hungry. A transmission pinged, Elias's voice, weak but urgent. "Lyra, the Lazarus code. It's in the nanites. Let them reset you." "Reset?" she growled. "You mean erase me?" "It's the only way to stop the decay. You'll forget, but you'll live." Lyra watched Ava on the screen, humming a lullaby their mother had taught them. Forgetting her would be a second death. "No." She severed the link. Lyra whirled. The decapitated skull hovered, puppeteered by her own nanites, its jaw unhinged. "You're a hypocrite. You hate the Empire, but you've become something worse. A god." "Shut up." She backhanded it. The skull shattered, but the voice echoed. "You'll kill Ava too. You'll kill everyone. It's what machines do." Lyra roared, smashing the console. Alerts exploded. "Reactor breach imminent. All hands abandon." The eclipse shuddered. Artificial gravity failed. Lyra floated, debris orbiting her like an asteroid belt. The view screen showed Terra 5's green horizon, so close, yet impossibly far. Ava's face filled her mind, sharp and bright. "Promise you'll come back." Lyra had promised. She wouldn't break it. Lyra plunged her consciousness into the nanite swarm. Data cascaded. Genetic codes, neural maps, the labyrinth of her own mind. She found the Lazarus subroutine, a kill switch disguised as salvation. Activate to restore baseline humanity. All upgrades will be purged. All upgrades, all power. All memories since her first death. Ava would live. Lyra would forget her. She hesitated. The reactor's roar crescendoed. The eclipse's hull split, starlight bleeding in. Lyra's body began to dissolve, fingers atomizing into silver dust. "Secrets are weapons, Lyra," her father's voice, warm as a solar flare. "Use them or lose them." She activated Lazarus. Ava crouched in the bunker, her pendant glowing, a moth with silver wings. Outside, the sky burned with dying warships. The ground trembled. "Run to the mountains," a voice crackled through the pendant. "I'll find you." Ava ran. Lyra's atoms scattered, the nanites detonating in a pulse of light. The eclipse vaporized, its shockwave rippling through the Imperial Armada. Across the galaxy, systems rebooted. The purge protocols dissolved, and Lyra, she was everywhere, nowhere. Ava stood at the edge of Epsilon 9's ruins, now verdant with wildflowers. The free colonies had rebuilt. their skies no longer shadowed by imperial dreadnoughts. In her palm, the moth pendant hummed, a sound she'd almost forgotten. A voice behind her. "Hi, kid." Ava turned. The woman was unfamiliar yet achingly known. Brown eyes flecked with silver, scars like constellations on her skin. "Lyra," Lyra smiled, though her gaze held lifetimes. "Told you I'd come back." She didn't remember Ava. The Lazarus Code had seen to that. But the nanites? They'd learned new tricks. As the sisters embraced, a silver moth took flight from Lyra's sleeve, a tiny fluttering galaxy. Somewhere, Elias Wren watched from the shadows, his own nanites humming. "Loop unbound," he whispered, and vanished.